Hello, and welcome again to another episode. I'm so excited because it's been a while since I did a recording. It's been a while since I sat and had a one on one conversation with myself and you on the other end of the screen. So, welcome. My name is Wairimu, and I'm so excited to be back here because I've come to realize is that there's a certain level of satisfaction that I get to attain whenever I get to sit and do a recording because I've come to realize is that it's very important for you to do that which you feel called to do that which you feel your heart is beating for. Just don't sit on it. I know at times we just want to be influenced by the numbers and everything, but no, that should not be the reason as to why you should start your creativity journey. It's because it's something that is in depth, and as time progresses by, it will then it will get better and you might get followers. But if you still don't get followers, let it not heartbreak you because I believe there's so much freedom when you do that which we feel called to do. So I really didn't have much to say. I wish I would tell you that for the entire week I've been planning. However, I've come to realize is that when I spend so much time in the planning phase, there are so many things that I find myself questioning and not doing them. So I'd rather like jump on board even when I'm unprepared because that is when you will get the most authentic conversation out of it all. Now, I was just writing some of the things that I would really want to tackle. The first thing that I can say is that I'm really trying to cut down on consumption, and not consumption of food, but consumption of the materials that I get to ingest whenever I visit the social media platforms because there's so much. Especially right now, I've been more drawn to watch videos that are talking about motivation, that are talking about how you can become the best version of yourself. And it's so funny because last week I was thinking of purchasing a book, and I thought to myself, is there anything else that I need, especially when I know what I'm supposed to do? Because you know exactly what you're supposed to do. You know that you need to keep on practicing. You know that if you don't show up, then things will not there's nothing that will come out of it if you don't even show up. And it's so funny because I still wanted to purchase the book that was going to tackle the same things. There's nothing new under the sun in the moon, considering the fact that I have read countless books. My table is just full of books. However, in as much as they are not motivational, they are books that tell me that, or rather they drive the point home that if I don't work, then there's nothing that I can get out of it. So I'm trying to cut down on consumption because then again, the reason why I don't even like planning my podcast ahead, it's because the moment that I have an idea, I will start going sourcing for other um people's thoughts in regard to the matters that I really want to talk about. And I just want this to be authentic. I just don't want it to be corrupted by other people's views or other sources of information. Let me just be real. Let me stand with exactly what I believe I should. A while back, I came across the you should I think it was a video. Maybe I didn't complete to watch it, but it was talking about how if you continue reading things in order for you to garner knowledge and you're not translating that into action, then it's pointless. And that is what I will stand by. I don't want to consume again. I'm just tired. I'm in a space where, when you fill something to the brim, you just want it to pour and pour and pour. I think I'm in that phase where I just want to drain myself out until I am left bare because there's so much that I've read, there's so much that I've listened to, and now it's time for me to produce because I think it's very important. Anything that has an anything that gets into your system, in anywhere, just let there be an outlet. And so for me, my outlet is talking. So trying to cut down on consumption. So false beliefs, because or rather I'm in a space where I do a personal audit in regard to my life. I have been observing and seeing some of the areas that I feel short, some of the areas that I need to work on. I know these are conversations that I have had back and forth, but at times I feel restless. At times I've given up on myself even when I shouldn't. At times, I know I should have taken this pathway, but because of laziness coming in the picture, I don't get to do that which I believe I should be doing. For example, because I've really been thinking, as I've said, I've been doing a personal audit. Now, I have a 9 to 5 p.m. Actually, it's not a 9 to 5 p.m. It's a 6, or rather, no, a 7:30 to 6:30. At times, it can extend beyond that. And I show up on a daily basis. I wake up at around 6, prepare myself, I think with a span of 1 hour, then the next 30 minutes I'm on the route headed to work. Now I've been asking myself, for example, if there was a shift and we were told to be reporting at 6 a.m., that is a conversation that I was having in my head. Definitely, I would wake up earlier to go to work. Why is it that when it comes to that which concerns me, that which is of development, that which I will hold, that will serve me for years to come later, I still can't dedicate myself to it? I was last week, the end of last week, I should have been waking up very late, early in the morning, doing some yoga, doing some meditation, sitting in a space of silence. But I slept. I slept all through. I slept. Today on a Sunday, I was supposed to go to church. However, we have our system that we are rolling out and we want it to be successful so that we can now start using it when it comes to September, but still. And so I went to work and I went to work. If I was told to go to church, I couldn't have gone. You see? And I've really been thinking about it for a very long time. And so the entire of this week, I'm really planning that I will try my level best. At least by 5:30, I should be up. I should do meditation. I should sit in a space of silence. As I've said, this is a very crucial month for me and the many months that are supposed to come by, because it will entail sitting with myself. It has entailed previously um, performing audits in regard to some of the areas that I need to work on. And now moving forward, I want now to start working on that, because I believe in order for you to achieve something, it's gradual. It's gradual. It's not something that is instant. So it's for you to put your best foot forward. Now, I hope that I will be dedicated to it. I found myself questioning so many things. There's so many false beliefs that we have. We exactly don't know what we should stand up for. I've come to realize that all my life I have been living in a way in what the society would want and not exactly what I myself would really want. And it's only, I didn't know that, but it's only recently that I found myself questioning some of the norms, some of my belief systems, and now trying to see where I can now undo the many years of the false information that I have made agreement with. Because the reality is that we are born, we find things being done a certain way, and this is how they have been done for years and years and years, and we follow on those blueprints, and we become like the rest in the society. It's only later that we come to realize, or rather in the process, and realize, no, this is not right for me. I have to rebel. But then again, we are not that bold enough to rebel, or the system is very strong for us to overcome it. And so we are left with no other choice other than bend to what has always been there. So I have sat down with myself and asked, is this the way that I want to go? Or what do I want for myself? Because I think the question that you should be asking yourself, what is it that you want for yourself? As Wairimu, what do I want for myself? Do I want to again fit in the mold even when I'm suffering discomfort? Or am I willing to be rejected by the society and chart up my own pathway? I have seen that for me, there's that fear of doing that which and still not being employed. There's that tendency of holding onto employment, because you tend to think that if now you go the other way, you will sleep hungry, which I don't believe is the case. Because then again, I'm sorry to say this, but there's nothing wrong with employment. But as you advance in age, you see how restrictive it can be, how exhausting it can be, and does not um, or rather it it doesn't give you adequate time for you, even for the people that you love. There's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate the fact that I'm employed right now, considering the fact that I spent almost 2 years applying for jobs and I got this job. But it's when once you get there and you realize, oh, there's much more that I can do. Or rather, let me say, I'm in a phase in my life where I feel there's much more that I can do with my life. There's much more. And this is why I'm trying to do this aside and build on a certain area that I believe will someday become my stronghold. Because for me, communication is something that I've really struggled with. However, it's an area that I aim to achieve something out of it. And so this is the reason why I come here and just to do this. And I really hope that one day it will really pay off. But sometimes it's not even about the money, it's what I'm becoming in the process. That is what at the moment really matters. And so as time advances, I believe we tend to question some of the belief system, even when it comes to my faith. I found myself questioning some of the things that I was taught. Yes, I read now my Bible from page to page because I at some certain point in my life, when it came to faith, there were so many questions in regard to it, but now I have a better understanding. Because one thing you want to know, when you come, when you're born into a Christian household, you have no other choice other than being a Christian. So now that means that you don't become a Christian by choice. You become a Christian by force. It's not by force, but by circumstances that are there. But there's a difference when you choose now to follow the Christian pathway. And yeah, there's so many things that I've really come to question. But yeah, I'm in a very good space. I really thank God for the fact that He has done. What else did I have to? What else did I feel that I needed to talk about? I have this notebook. There's this phrase that I came: the biggest fear humans have is taking the risk to be alive and express what they really are. I have an issue with expressing myself. I really do. I really do. And it's only in my current job that some of the insecurities that I deal with started to surface. Mimi nakwambia, I've I don't know. There's so many things that I'm discovering about myself. Some are quite shocking. Some are heavyweight. Some are more of how do I deal with this? But the reality is that I can no longer bask in that comfort anymore. It's now for me now to propel myself forward to become a better human. And it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy and it's shocking because now it will entail undoing the so many years that I have lived. There's so many, or rather even having this personality that I have carried forth for so many years, when you know it's a personality that was domesticated. Because in one way or another, I was reading a certain blog that was talking about, I want to go to the real version of who I was, because the writer was saying they used to be very playful, they used to be very outgoing until something really transpired in their lives, and or rather they became domesticated, they became tamed by the environment that they were growing up in. That meant that they had to suppress who they are and form this persona that was going to be acceptable in the society. And for me, that has always been the same case. And the fact that I'm trying to undo, you can imagine you have a very tall building, and now you want to undo it and build it in your own design. You know, it's been designed by so many people, been designed by opinions. Yes, it's your house. Now it's me trying to undo that. And so that means that you have to deconstruct and take wall after wall after wall until we get to the surface and start rebuilding again. And that is what my life right now is undoing. I'm undoing so many years of false belief systems that I've been part of, a personality that does not build me, a personality that has weighed me for so many years, a personality that was tamed in order for me to be acceptable. So this is some of the areas that I'm really working on, and I really pray to God that I will come out of it on the other side as a very bold person, as a very courageous woman, as a very outgoing person, to pick up where I was cut short and I knew something was birthed that does not serve me. So they were talking about the domestication process, formation of an image of what perfection is in order to try to be good enough. Know who you are supposed to be, thus feeling false, frustrated, and dishonest. They hide and pretend who who we are not. And it's only recently that it started dawning for me that I'm exhausted of carrying this false personality forward. I'm exhausted of not living to the best, truest form of who I am. I am exhausted, and so it's for me now to make that deliberate decision. I've already made it, and it has to start with the small stuff. If I cannot be dedicated to waking up and setting at least 30 minutes for myself, if I cannot be dedicated to telling myself that I have to set at least 30 minutes aside so that I can spend time with who I am, then I think we will not get to where we are supposed to, because I believe it's the small things that really inspire or rather make us move forward in life. Um, the limit of self abuse is exactly the limit. Okay, I was reading this book and it's talking about how we self abuse ourselves. I don't know, but I've abused myself, and it's only recently that I've been telling myself I forgive myself. Someone asked me, who is it that you really want to forgive? And I said, I want to forgive myself because I'm liable of my life moving forward, because I believe there's an expiration date to you blaming other people. There's always an expiration date. So I am reading these phrases that I write when I'm in my working station, when I don't have a client that I'm serving. So the limit of self-abuse is exactly the limit one will tolerate from someone else. If abused more, you'll probably walk away. If abused less than you abuse yourself, you'll probably stay. Oh, that was heavyweight. It's talking about, for example, let's say how we love ourselves. When we find someone loving us less than we love ourselves, we are likely to send that person away. But if we find ourselves having someone who loves us to the level that we love ourselves, less we will likely to no actually no, I've like ruined it all. We are likely to abuse ourselves to the level that we are likely to allow people to abuse us to the level that we abuse ourselves, because this code says the limit of self abuse is exactly the limit one will tolerate from someone else. If abused more, you'll probably walk away. If abused less than you self abuse, you'll probably stay. I was listening to this guy. He has written a certain book, and he was talking about when it comes to even loving ourselves, we love ourselves with conditions, because that is how we've been programmed. Because you find that even growing up, you are loved, especially when you're a performer, and this actually is something that we ingest inwardly. The fact that, for example, you don't live up to a certain expectation that you've set for yourself, and the probability is that these expectations you have set them for yourself based on other people's um people's achievements. For example, you will say, especially when we were in primary school, you're told what is it that you really want to achieve, and you find that you have written that you want to achieve 400 marks out of 500. When you don't achieve that 400, because that is what the society has said, that in order for you to be regarded as someone who is of essence, someone who is not just an anybody, someone who can gain the respect of people in the society. When you don't achieve that 400 marks, you punish yourself ruthlessly. You punish yourself ruthlessly. And for me, I've loved myself with conditions. I've loved myself when I am doing very well in life, and hated myself ruthlessly and punished myself severely when I have not achieved certain milestones in my life. And so, just because that is how I was maybe programmed, you see, there's that tendency of when you perform very well, love is given abundantly. However, when now you do not perform very well, it is withdrawn. So at a certain point in life, you grow up thinking that you can only be loved in certain circumstances. In certain circumstances, you're unlovable when you don't look good, you're unlovable when you don't achieve this. So I'm trying to learn how to love myself. Even when I make a mistake, I can be gentle on myself, because I remember when I was going for an interview, I was asked this question, and now it's only later that I realized that it was very important for this question to be asked. What will you do when you fail? What is it that you will do when you fail? Or rather, when you make a mistake in your work? And I said I will extend grace. I didn't know that making mistakes would one day become the norm. Before now, I came to learn on how to do things. And wow, that is how life has been. I am in a place where I really want to go beyond who I have always been. Yes, I've been reading this book that is called Going Beyond Yourself, and he emphasizes on meditation. So for the next 7 days, I really want to be dedicated to doing some meditations here and there. And so I think that is where we really finalize. It's been 20 minutes. I really hope it's been of essence, but I will revisit it. You want to know that I'm still not able to, what is it called? To edit. So we work with the raw recording of it. And so this is why we say goodbye. I really wish you all the best and yeah, bye.